How to choose hiking boots. Obviously, if you're going on a big hike, you want to have some really good and reliable hiking boots that will last you for the duration of the hike and perhaps longer. So there are a few important tips that are really essential to consider when choosing hiking boots, or really any kind of footwear that you plan on hiking with. And the first and most important thing to consider, of course, is the size. Some people don't really care too much about their exact size. Maybe they think, oh, I can go a little bit too big or a little bit too small, it won't matter that much. It matters quite a lot, because when you're hiking, you're doing so much more exercise with your feet compared to just a stroll in the city or standing in one place for a long time. You're really wearing down your feet, and you need something to protect your feet, which is the hiking boots. So once you have the right size of your boot, it will really just envelop your feet. It will keep them stable and steady. You're not going to get these, rashes and places of friction where it can cause blisters and things like that. Because the right fit will, like I said, really just kind of hold your feet in place. If the boot is too small, your feet are going to be in agony because they're going to be compressed. There's going to be just blood pooling in your feet, poor circulation, a lot of pain. It's just going to be really uncomfortable. It could also lead to ingrown toenails, which are also extremely painful and can be a real issue. Sometimes they can lead to infections when you're hiking. Then if you get boots that are a little bit too big, then you have the problem of blisters as well. From just places of empty space that allow for extra friction where it shouldn't be. So you end up with some really awful blisters that can be painful enough to cut your hike short, and that is not something you want to deal with, especially if you're doing really long distance hikes and things like that. So the right fit is really important. Make sure you measure your feet, you know exactly the size you are, and then compare the size with the boots that you plan on getting. Preferably, go to the store, walk around in those boots for a little while, see how they feel, if they're pinching or rubbing anywhere, and that should pretty much help you get the perfect size for what you need. Then, once you find your right size, you have to consider the midsoles and the outsoles of your boots. So the midsoles obviously are within the boots. They help with cushioning and things like that. Now, knowing kind of the shape of your feet can really help with this, because say you have a high arch or you have flat feet, that sort of thing. There's different midsoles that kind of cater to these different types of feet sizes, and that's important because if you don't have the right support for your feet, you're going to be in agony at one point or another, unnecessarily, because just choosing the right boot can really help prevent a lot of discomfort while you're on the trail, just hiking around. And also, besides the shape of the midsole and things like that, it's also important to consider the material. Polyurethane is a very popular option. It's very soft, it kind of molds to the foot, and it's also breathable. Then at the same time, the outsole, the outer part of the shoe, you want to make sure that has good traction, so you're not going to be slipping and sliding, say if you're on a mossy rock or you're climbing over something. You want to have something with really good traction, that's also very durable, and also has good cushioning and compression and kind of shock absorption properties. Because obviously, if you're going to be hiking, you're going to be walking a lot. Obviously, that's the main thing. And when you walk a very long time, eventually your joints are going to be worn down, your feet are going to be worn down, and you want shock absorption. And you want shock absorption properties from your boots, because that's, how you protect your feet and make sure you're not in agony. Then besides the midsoles and the outsoles, you also want to consider any special properties or bonuses that some boots have. Most importantly, it's a good idea to get a waterproof or at least water-resistant boot, because most likely, wherever you're hiking, there's going to be some sort of moisture somewhere. Either there's going to be some mud, or there's going to be a stream that you have to cross, or maybe it rained and there's some puddles. You don't want to have your boots soaked completely once you start hiking, because then your boots are going to be awful, muddy, soggy, and just very unpleasant. It's really better to get some sort of waterproof boot that will allow you to just not have to worry about moisture at all for the most part. And if they do get wet, they should be able to dry very quickly. So again, bacteria doesn't build up, they don't smell horrible, they're not just soggy and gross. But besides waterproofing, you also want to check the materials. You want to make sure they're sturdy but breathable, lightweight preferably, and pretty much anything else you would like to have in a boot, because there are a lot of different kind of specifications and bonuses that certain boots and brands have in comparison to other brands and things like that. So basically just kind of research whatever boot you decide to get thoroughly, so you really know exactly what you're getting and what you're not getting, you know, if a certain boot is lacking certain features. And pretty much if you just review, you know, all those features and compare the price and the fit and everything, how comfortable it is, how durable it is, then you shouldn't have too much of a problem choosing a good hiking boot. But these are pretty much my main tips for how to choose hiking boots that will be comfortable and reliable when you're out on the trail. So hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, of course I make a few videos throughout the week, so don't miss those.